Okay. Kim Young Dan. Dan is asking how Anthony Jones is a buddy, is handling his values. How Anthony Jones is handling his values. It looks like for me, often he has only little value changes in his forms, and he uses only. Dude, I'm reading as just as bad as you're writing. Let's try again. How Anthony Jones is handling his values, it looks like for me, often he has only little value changes in his forms, and he uses like only one value for really big shapes, but still you can see the form variations, 3D forms, and it still creates a realistic look and not a cartoonish rook. Okay, so the way I know exactly why you're asking. Let me remove the TD monster. I mean, not TD. Um, let me explain to you what's happening. So the way he paints, or at least his values, he's very much known for this, for the way this kind of values and this kind of like range, and his forms are very nice and stuff. Um, One thing you want to keep in mind, two things you want to keep in mind. Number one, the way he paints is like almost like you'd be sculpting, and he says that himself like many times. Um, and another thing is that, well, another thing is kind of like just get better, forehead. It's the fact that his knowledge of light is very good, right? There's really not much you can do. There's no trick around it whatsoever. However, a lot of his rendering tends to be like a very soft spotlight. You know, it is subtle, but there is change, and there is even like cast shadows, like in here. Let's hunt for them first. I'll paint the demo. But there's like a little bit of hard shadow in there. There's like hard shadows here, so it's mostly soft, but he's not shying away from actually showing some edges to the to the shadows. So two things are happening here. Um, the main thing is the form shadow, which is this. I'll do it on a different color. So all of this, you know, all of these darker grays here, all of this is form shadow that you see here. All of that. It's very subtle, and I can actually maybe propose you a way or two. Maybe you can like fake it a little bit, but only a little bit. So there's a lot of areas where the forms, um, the volume of the forms are very well defined, but it's nothing like too harsh. But then he does use pockets of shadow here and there to really like deepen the the values, which then will make all of this stand out even more. The softer values stand out more, because if everything was too soft, then it would look flat. But because he has this value range, it helps the subtle values you got going on. Uh, Diffused is a good word for it. Yeah. So let's do a little demo. A little demon. Here. It's a little square. And I know exactly how he paints because I've seen a bunch of these tutorials before, and he has explained stuff to me. We talked, and the way he likes to draw like he would be sculpting. So a lot of the stuff he does is he paints and he like builds up the form. So he'll do like a lot of this. I think he also smudge brushes here and there too. But so he'll like build the characters like this. I'll do just like the portrait instead of the whole thing because there's no point to. So he'll like he always he always starts very soft as well. Or he used to. I don't know how he paints nowadays, but from memory, I remember he starts building from like mid tones and then goes lighter and darker. Right. Chernobyl cow. So he'll like draw and paint at the same time, which a lot of artists mention that it's like sculpting or whatever. Like you keep adding values, push and pull. You know, you add and you erase and you add and you erase all the time until it starts forming. Until the shape that you're looking for, if you're looking for something specific, that is, starts actually uh, forming. So again, I'm not going to spend as much time as he would, although he's pretty fast. I mean, with this technique, he has perfected it, in my opinion. So this is bread and butter, to my eyes, at least. So he'll be quite fast at this. But um, I'm gonna use some. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he smudge brushes. He uses smudge brushes too. But it's a constant push and pull where he will he will like paint, he'll smudge, and then he'll paint again, and like add some more value to things, and then he'll do it again, or maybe not even smudge, but like blend, you know, uh, that sort of stuff. So all this time, I'm not just mindless rendering. I'm thinking about the forms that I'm painting and how they turn against the current light position, and I'm not just like adding values mindlessly either. I'm adding values, but I'm also drawing at the same time. You know, so like for example, uh, okay, here's a good example. There's like this little cheek thingy here. With the hello, oh there you go. There's this like cheek thing in there. So I'm painting it, I'm drawing it, but I'm painting the shadow and the volume of it too at the same time. It, I'd say this kind of way of painting, it get easier for some than others. It really depends on you. Some people can get it quite easily. Some others require quite a lot of practice, and some others just cannot deal painting like that. You know, but I'd say it's a good practice. Um, so I'm not going too dark into the shadows as well. I'm keeping my range at the moment mostly on just the form shadows and nothing else. But soon, once I already have a general established image, then I would go around. I would get around to start uh, going a little deeper, like the little eyes, the little beady eyes, the eye sockets or whatever those are. Um, I start. I'll start adding that in a moment here. Um, you really need to be five head to paint like this. You're doing multiple things at once for sure. It's not easy, but you can take one thing at a time. So of course it takes some getting used to. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say go ahead and say that it's the easiest way to paint either, but it's not that difficult either. You just have to get used to do it long enough, and you'll start. Um, your brain starts like predicting what you're gonna do next. That's why a lot of these people can paint in this way because they already know what they're gonna do next. Right. And even if they don't, they kind of can like project it, and based on previous experiences, it's a lot of that too. The more experience you have, the easier it is for you to go, oh, I know if I do this thing or I do it this way, I'll get this result, right? And this could mean anything. Right? I'm leaving it a bit ambiguous here, but you can see that it's starting to form here, and your value range. I guess if I want to be a bit more technical, your value range goes from wait, let me extend my canvas here. There you go. So the value range would go from at the moment, just for the form shadows, it would go from this to this to that. Let me grab a brighter one. That, and then eventually to, well, the white one you can't see because it's pure white, but yeah, I'll make it just a little darker. So it's kind of like just a few couple steps, and then you will add the well, you'll add the quite darker one, I guess, to be there, and then you just go a little brighter. You add the two after you add the two other steps. So I would separate these two for sure. Whoa. I would separate these two sections. First, limit your values to the right section, and once you have like the design down and most of the forms sort of like set up, then you start thinking about going deeper or maybe even changing your light direction, because when you paint like this, almost like a, I don't know, like a very soft spotlight. So it's like the camera. It's as if the camera had a light on it, like a light above the camera, and it's like shining onto the thing you're painting. That's sort of how he does a lot of his work, and it's a very nice idea to do something like that because you can change the light direction um, incredibly easy. All right, you could go maybe I'll demo that, but we'll see. But I will say that also sculpting painting kind of idea, this kind of idea of sculpting painting, you'll get more comfortable with it if you get better at drawing. I know it's kind of weird because you're not exactly drawing here, but the better you get at drawing, and I mean like line arts, you know, um, the better you actually get at uh, the form painting, whatever you want to call this, because when you really think about it, this is a line. It's just thick. You know what I mean? So if you're shade, like think about it for a second. If you shade like this, why not instead of doing that, save time and do this? Does that make sense, Che? So once again, if you're doing like crisscross or whatever, and you're doing something like that, it's literally this, but instead of crisscrossing, you just do that, right? So you're like, oh, here's my shadow. You're already planning to do that anyways if you're using like line worker or something. Hey, what's up, so-called? Hi. Um, so that's another way to think about it, I'd say. Um, you know what? I'm not gonna do the whole thing, but I will do the deeper shadows. So Let's get into it. Obviously, it's not as smooth as his render, etc. I mean, I could blend here and there to help the render out, but you get the point. At this point, like from this moment on, you can just I'm using a smudge tool here. But from this moment on, you can go deeper. You can choose your light direction. So I could have like a cast shadow come in here, for example. Wait, I'll actually use a different layer. Like I could have the cast shadow come in here, like, or it could be actually from this angle, right? And have a shadow here. I could have the light coming from the right instead of the left, right? So I could just keep adding here, right? As I was saying, if I was doing this in line art, I would probably do this, but it's literally just instead of doing that, I'm just going like bam, doing this instead. So the light could be coming from the right, and the darkest shapes are on. Sorry, the light is coming from the left, and the shadows are on the right, and vice versa. So that's why I think it's very smart that he paints and he mastered this technique, because you can really change the the lighting direction and pretty much like anything using these methods, right? Especially when you don't know what exactly you're gonna do, right? Because Anthony Jones, a lot of times he's experimenting quite a bit, and he might not know the exact um, result, right? So doing it in a way that can keep uh, options open is is a, is a smart thing to do. I'm actually gonna use a different brush because uh, there's weird fractals with the triangle brush. So at this point on, he'll like zoom in, he'll get in there, he'll like blend everything properly, make it nice, and then add like some rim lights, for example, to the mouth. The mouth has like this really neat, and generally the whole lighting is just he gets in there and makes sure that he has everything laid out. You know? So at this point, it's just a matter of time, really. He's just putting in the time to adding some shifts on the form. So if something turns away from the light source, it becomes darker. If it points towards the light source, it becomes brighter. That sort of obvious thing, you know? So and then he'll make his brush really thin, or even like grab a soft brush. So you know, I mean, you can see where this is going. It's literally just a matter of time. So I might actually stop here after I do the hair. Yeah, I can see that even for his hair, he uses a soft brush first. Interesting. So yeah, you can tell that he uses a bit of everything. Sort of thing. Yeah. And the rest is just you just spend time doing it, man. You just if you already got this far, then it's a matter of like spending another hour on this instead of like 20 minutes, like I am. Hold on, I'm gonna flip the canvas because my hand is at a weird angle drawing these thingies, but right. And I can go brighter as well, like to really push. There you go. Can really push these reflections, which he loves doing. So There you go. I'm also getting a bit tired, so it's harder for me to see things. I've been answering questions all day, but you can see that it'll get there. You know, and and there you go. That's pretty much that's pretty much what he does. He'll smudge brush a little bit too. I wasn't convinced about the smudge brush, but I'm looking at his hair, and it really does look like, at least in areas, it really does look like he would use some. Looks like an Anthony Jones painting because it is. Whoa, I lost the image. There you go. And like I can make it dark. I could just keep going. I'll be honest with you. But there it is. If you're watching this on video, uh, please follow me on all my social media, John Silva Art. Um,